Okay, looks like we are live. So, welcome everyone to our panel discussion on engineering leadership in the age of AI-driven quality. As AI becomes embedded across the engineering lifecycle, we're in experimentation phases, but we're shifting into now a phase of accountability. And so, engineering leaders today are faced with evaluating tools, redefining how quality is measured, governed, trusted, and owned. And so AI introduces powerful new capabilities, but it also introduces probabilistic behavior, explainability challenges, new leadership trade offs. And so we can debate on current use cases in multiple industries, if AI is working, if it's not working. We've seen the proof of some of that it's working: personalization, simulations, anomaly detection, recommendation engines, for a few examples. Engineering leadership continues to evolve when AI becomes part of the quality system itself. And so we're going to explore this through a leadership lens. And where it's helpful, we're going to connect our discussion to structured maturity thinking, such as the test maturity model integration, as a way to think about discipline evolution. And so as we go, please feel free, place questions in the Q&A section in Zoho. And so once we get to the end, we'll try to answer some of those questions. So let me briefly introduce our panelists. Just to note, you could find everyone here's full bios on the TestFormation website. So quick highlights here. Start with myself. I'm Dr. Amanda Fetch, board director with our very own TMMI North America chapter. Spent over 25 years, analytics, data science, AI, across many different industries. My research, doctoral work focuses on machine learning applications, clustering, orbital debris, space applications. But today, we're focused on structuring maturity and leadership accountability as AI becomes operational. Now, Tejas Pandit is here with us, co-founder, CEO of Mesh Defend. He's passionate about leveraging AI and automation to solve complex technology challenges, drive operational excellence. He has led global engineering organizations across US, Israel, China, and India, scaling innovations in cybersecurity, data protection, and SaaS into multi-billion-dollar product portfolios. Wendy Lally is here, accomplished engineering leader, director at Lally Consulting, LLC. She has led complex software initiatives, including Intel's HPC pathfinding work for Argonne's Aurora supercomputer, execution alignment across AI, GPU software teams for Intel's CTO. Wendy's known for restoring clarity, cohesion, and execution stability in technically complex and rapidly evolving engineering environments. Then we have Himanshu, Pathak, QA, automation engineering lead for generative AI at Meta, with experience at Meta, Microsoft, and Intel. He's driving the transformation of manual QA and test automation using generative AI. And so his work focuses on integrating AI into automation pipelines to significantly improve efficiency, effectiveness, and scalability in engineering systems. So thank you for joining us. I'm very excited to get in. We're going to have a really great discussion today. So to start off our discussion, I kind of want to zoom out a little bit. And so we often see the term used, AI-driven quality, but it can mean many different things to many different organizations, I should say, as well. So I'm going to start out with the first question. So from your perspective, what does AI-driven quality actually mean in today, in 2026, engineering organizations? And what is genuinely new versus sort of simply rebranding automation? And so I'd love to start off with Tejas and pass this question to you.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you so much, Amanda, for that kind introduction of me. And then going straight into it, right? I think taking some takeaways from Eric's session, last session as well, right? I think I love the way he put it, right? Don't venture into it in terms of kind of doing the AI transformation if you don't understand the current piece. I think I'm going to take this kind of in my organization as well, because that's pretty important. So first thing is we need to understand what we are doing. Second, as you do that, right, the AI driven quality for me simplistically means that not throwing away anything that we are doing today, because those are important things. There's a lot of automation, a lot of work which has been done, but the way to differentiate this is we used to like testing what we built, right? That's what the QA was all about. Now when we think about the AI driven quality, what it really means is continuously understanding how systems behave. Why? Because traditionally, right, whenever we thought about quality or the system testing, whatever it is, right, unit testing, you name it, right, or all kind of different testing, it was about deterministic verification. Right test case, run that automation and confirm the expected outcomes? Does it happen or not? What is kind of genuinely new in AI driven kind of quality, if I may say, is the software system themselves are becoming probabilistic. And thus, the AI components, it does not behave the same way every time. We are building the AI native kind of multi-agentic system. So I can tell you this with confidence. They learn, they adopt, sometimes they drift. We use the word like hallucination, which gives you different outcome. But here is where what changes. The quality now shifts from only validating those outputs or deterministic outputs to monitoring overall behavior of the system, especially if you are running the multi-agentic or AI system. And here is where, in summary, right, automation helps us even today, our teams to run the tests faster, and it will continue to be that way. AI driven quality actually will help us detect those patterns in the system overall, anticipate those failures, or which could be a failure is again the probabilistic part of it, and continuously evaluate the system in production, that are they achieving the kind of a desired outcome or not. We have the judge LLMs and a lot of other things, but I'll spare that for now. But that's what the AI driven quality means, and that's what the different truly doesn't throw away anything from automation or deterministic quality. Back to you, Amanda.
Thank you for jumping in. Great thoughts. Wendy, what do you think about this one?
So I agree with what Tejas said, but I think it's really about a shift in how we're understanding and managing the risk. So for years, quality has been rooted in detection and finding defects after they appear and writing more tests and dashboards and scaling the human effort. But we're changing kind of the location of the work. So AI driven quality to me means moving from like this reactive detection to predictive system level insights. And instead of waiting for failures, we're going to be using models to understand patterns across the code and tests and requirements. So it's not just faster automation, it's fundamentally a different way of seeing the system. And what's genuinely new is that these systems are now going to understand the semantics of a requirement and the structure of a code base and the behavior patterns of a service. And they can correlate this across the whole system, and it becomes a continuously improving capability rather than a set of checks. But I think what's not new is that a lot of it is still being branded as or the AI is branded as automation, and it's scripted test execution. And, you know, if a human still has to encode every rule, then it's automation, it's not intelligence. So I'm really talking about a new model where your insights and predictions and learnings become first-class citizens in how we build these reliable systems.
Yeah, thank you for jumping in on your thoughts, Wendy. So, what I'm kind of hearing at this point is the definition itself is evolving. And so, what makes leadership alignment, well, I should say this makes leadership alignment even more critical within our organizations. And so, I kind of want to transition this a little bit from definition to application. And so, with that being said, we've kind of framed what AI driven quality means. And so, let's talk about where it actually is working. And so, I'm going to first start off with Himanshu on this question. Where are you seeing AI most effectively integrated into engineering or quality workflows today? And how are teams balancing the speed of innovation with assurance and reliability when these systems behave probabilistically?
Excellent question, Amanda. This has always been a challenge when the new technologies come in. We always need to make a balance between innovation and reliability. And it's kind of every leadership when new technologies, new tools comes in, we always make sure that we are utilizing them responsibly with the best assessment with the help of our knowledge. Same thing is happening with the AI. Now, we cannot just delay our innovation. We have to move fast, and in many companies this is a culture, you have to move fast. So in such situations, we need to make sure that we are having the appropriate guardrails to assess the innovation and the reliability. Like we need to make it. I can give an example. Let's say team company A, they wanted to utilize the AI for optimizing their test authoring. Now, there are multiple tools around there and different LLM models they can utilize, but someone needs to make sure that we have proper guardrails in place. And I have a lot of experience with it. You are creating a lot of test cases utilizing the AI, but then who is making sure that the quality of those test cases are good? And are they missing any edge cases, or are they missing any kind of a boundary scenarios? Who is going to be taking care of that? We have to implement during our process and during our journey. There will be certain scenarios where many of the test cases will be missed, but does that mean that we should stop it? No, we have to put the proper guardrail in place, and that's what we need to do. The good thing is the AI is based on the probability, and probability is always based on the chances and based on certain assumptions. We need to make sure that our assumptions are correct. We need to validate them again and again. And I think this is pretty much my seek the keyword here, what's going to be the proper guardrails.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Validation guardrails is key here. Tejas, I'd love to spin this over and pass it to you as well. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I agree completely with Himanshu about the guardrails, and I'll come to that in a minute. But the three areas literally that we have seen, to Himanshu's point as well, that teams have to move fast, and we all know that code is being generated through like lot of AI tool. We'll not name them, but there are like millions and millions of lines of code when even engineer slips. So now what happens is, how do you make sure that like what is a good code, what goes in and what not? We all have our pipelines. There's a lot of stuff happening, but where we are seeing that kind of AI is delivering true impact for us in a very simplistic terms. First is the test generation and maintenance, right? It can analyze those code changes. It can generate the test cases automatically. It can reduce the massive maintenance burden which was there on engineering, right? And that has given 10x velocity for a startup like us. Otherwise, it's going to be really, really tough. Second, the failure detection and root cause. We literally have that entire pipeline set now, where before even it comes to any engineer to look, right, the right AI system has already done the digging through those logs, right? It has correlated some of those systems, the signals across the systems, and it surfaces some of the probable causes. It isn't accurate, but believe me, it helps a lot. So that's the second area. The third area is about the production monitoring, where the systems, the AI systems or AI kind of is helping is to detect these anomalies in the system behavior before even customer notices the issue. And that's one of the biggest boon, because as we know, AI doesn't get tired, and it has kind of this right ability, or it has an intelligence. Let me just take a step back and say intelligence to really monitor those things. But going back to Himanshu's point, right? It does not eliminate, AI does not eliminate engineering judgment. I would go one step ahead or forward. And what we are seeing is, in many cases, it actually increases the need for those experienced engineers who understand what's happening, what AI systems are throwing back at you, and understand and just kind of a really prioritize what are the real signals from a lot of the noise which might come from the AI systems who are doing the kind of continuous testing as well. And that's where I think I would leave it there, that the requirement for someone who understands and has a system level understanding is going really, really up. Those people going to be really in demand, because that's what would be required to make sure that there is a right engineering judgment is applied. Because at the end of the day, it's the human being and engineer who is responsible, not the AI, right? If something goes wrong. Back to you, Amanda.
Absolutely. And so we have this whole idea of human computer interaction that's really taking over. We're seeing tangible integration, but also new safeguards emerging. And so implementing those systems shifts responsibility. And so that's kind of going to start bringing us into the leadership side of the equation. And so when AI becomes part of that quality pipeline, leadership responsibility starts to expand. And so I'm going to start out with Wendy on this one. So what new leadership decisions are engineering leaders now responsible for when now we have AI entering the quality pipeline, particularly around trust, explainability, and risk? So Wendy, would love your thoughts.
Sure. The accountability shift for leaders is pretty real in this, because suddenly we're responsible for behavior of systems that we didn't hand code ourselves, and that changes the job. So with trust, we're not just validating the code paths anymore. We're validating model behavior and data lineage and assumptions that are baked into the training sets. So leaders have to decide what's going to be trustworthy enough before the AI is allowed to influence a release decision. And this kind of ties back to Eric's, comment about understand what you're doing before you add AI. So that's not a tooling question, that's a leadership call. And then for explainability, if an AI model flags a risky release or it predicts a defect cluster, then the team has to understand why. And it's not because they want to, reverse engineer the math, or because they can't, understand it. But if they can't challenge it, they can't trust it. So leaders have to set the tone. AI is a collaborator. It's not like an oracle, and transparency and understanding that is quality now. So risk, leaders have to draw the boundaries. Where can AI automate? Where should it only assist? Where is human review absolutely non-negotiable? And those choices define the organization's risk posture more than any model does. So I think it comes down to clarity how our decisions are made and how the models are governed and who owns the outcomes. And our willingness to own those decisions is going to show up as responsible leadership in this new era.
Yeah, interesting thoughts. Himanshu, what do you think about this one?
Thanks, Amanda. I love Wendy's thought, especially around the clarity. It's always an essential part of the leadership. For me, especially during my AI exploration, experimentation, trust comes from a vetting process. Like, we need to vet out the process that it's really trustworthy or not. And for that, we need to make sure that we have enough checkpoints around our process. So I can give an example. Now QA role is evolving. Now QA is not only just writing that test cases or executing them, they are also helping in many organizations fixing the bugs. Since we have the cloud or many other AI generator tools which can help QA to evolve their process. Now during the process, one of the things is that how we make sure the code generated is perfect, right? What is the quality of it? Then we need to make sure that if human is generating a code, he's working responsibly, I'm assuming, and then somebody is reviewing the code. But if the AI is generating it, we need to make sure that at least we have 2 to 3 people reviewing that code before it pushed in. Now, we need to have pretty much a very good methodological vetting process around it. The risk on the other side, like every organization, they have their own risk factors or risk categories assigned already. With the advent of AI, I think we leaders need to have some sort of an acceptable limit of the failure rates. So for example, certain corporations, that policy violation, absolutely, even if we use the AI, there is 0% risk. We cannot accept it. Toxicity bias, that we cannot accept it. But if there are certain normal scenarios like the core flows, not the core flows, but kind of a generic scenario, yeah, there is some level of acceptable risk. But then we have for the risk, we have to just define our limits. I think this is pretty much from my side.
Yeah, so what's interesting is that AI isn't removing responsibility. And so I think a lot of times we have this misconception that's exactly what's happening. But instead, we have this increase of responsibility. And so switching this around a little bit, thinking about how AI contributes to a quality outcome. And Himanshu, you've raised some very interesting points. So thinking about now who ultimately stands behind that result. And so when AI systems are embedded in testing and quality assurance, who is the one ultimately owning that quality outcome of the tool, the team, or leadership? Who's kind of stepping in there? So Tejas, I'd love to start off with you on this one.
Yep. Absolutely. I think this is one of the question which came in the Q&A as well. I was trying to answer. Absolutely right. So first and foremost thing, quality ownership, it cannot be delegated to the tool. If anybody is in that misconception that it was not me, it was tool, I don't think any company will be able to accept that. Not as yet, and not for like the coming time, right? At best, this AI tools or technologies, it can assist you into multiple different ways that we just covered in the last question. So then what's the answer? So what is a practical model that really works? And we have been kind of trying this model for a while now. Is there are three major players are emerging in terms of overall ownership. One is the platform, or you can say the tooling team in the big organization. In our organization, right, where we have the kind of a much more leaner AI native startup teams. We have someone, right, from DevOps or platform, right, who is responsible for owning the reliability of this AI system itself, and that's what they own. Then the engineering teams, they own the quality of their services and their delivery, or quality of their code, in Himanshu's word, right? That's what the engineering team owns. As a leadership, then the responsibility of the leaders comes to owning that governance. What are those risk boundaries, right? And this is very interesting, right? I'm not saying it this kind of absolute boundary. There might be some of the overlaps which are coming, and sometimes you are better off having some overlap versus the gaps which might can kind of put you in problems where operational policies comes into a play, right? So if an AI, for example, produces some incorrect recommendation between these three owners, right, you need to rectify, and you need to make sure. If you have to ask me who is that ultimate one owner, it must be that engineering leader who is responsible, or engineering team who is responsible, right, kind of shipping it, right? That's what this all boils down to in terms of the human accountability. uh Otherwise, believe me, right, system collapse very, very quickly. But that's what our experimentation and thoughts are. Back to you, Amanda.
Yeah, absolutely. Himanshu, I'd like you to take us home on this one. Where are your thoughts on where that ownership lies?
Wonderful question, and I agree with Tejas. So here are my thoughts for it. Uh, Leadership is accountable, and leadership empower the teams to do the lot of exploration. So now team is empowered, and team needs to use their own judgment for selecting the right tools and technologies so that they can decide what should be the proper quality checks we are putting in place to make sure the whatever the products, ultimate goal is that whatever the companies are launching, they're launching fast and they're launching the quality products, right? They hire us as a quality engineers, QA managers, QA leaders, just to make sure that the quality is right. So they are empowering us, but ultimately accountability is them, and they are empowering us. So for me, like teams, both QA teams, engineering teams, and the leadership, everybody is accountable for the quality. Like when you join the corporation, you go through multiple meetings, the learning sessions where everybody says the quality is everyone's responsibility. Now with the advent of AI, we are taking accountability, and then we are empowering us, right? So for example, I can give you an example. One of the experiment we were performing in one of the corporations where uh, we were utilizing one of the tools for writing the automation. The tool was doing perfectly, but at one point of time, it was not able to scale enough. Then leadership took the accountability, and then we pivot from that tool. Just though it was kind of in the middle of we have to stop the execution further, and we have to just find out a new exploration for us. So in that case, the leadership was taking proper accountability, but then at the same time they're empowering me, and I think this structure goes away. It is the structure goes along the lines for the corporations who are known for the kind of doing a lot of exploration, trying to do a lot of investment into the AI.
Yeah, absolutely. And so this is where that maturity conversation comes into play, because ownership clarity often differentiates early experimentation from structural integration. And so let's kind of bring in that maturity perspective. And so I was going to start out with Wendy on this one. So through a TMMI maturity lens, what differentiates organizations that are responsibly integrating AI into quality practices from those that are really just simply experimenting?
Yeah, so at the lower maturity levels, I think teams are playing with AI. They're generating tests with AI, they're summarizing logs, they're running a pilot in one corner of the organization, but they haven't really changed their behavior. There's not a consistency, there's not process validation, and there's not governance about how the AI decisions are made or reviewed. It's an activity, it's not a capability at that point. And then as you move up the maturity curve, the posture shifts a bit and AI becomes part of the architecture. It's not the tool of the week. It's well thought out. It's embedded in the requirements analysis and test design, in defect prediction. And because it's integrated, then the leaders can measure the impact on the coverage and the risk and the cycle time. And the quality signals become shared. So they share across teams. The AI insights don't just lie within one team's small dashboard. They're distributed, they're fed into OKRs, they're in cross-team reviews, they're in governance meetings and release criteria. So it becomes a contributor to the whole organization's learning and not just a tool. And then third, as we just learned in that last question, the quality leaders take accountability for the AI behavior. So they define where autonomy is acceptable and where explainability is required. They apply the same kind of rigor to AI that TMMI expects for any critical quality practice. They're not just creating artifacts, they're using AI to strengthen the quality systems.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Wendy. Tejas, I'd love to hear your perspective on this one.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, Wendy covered it pretty well. So I don't have much to add on this one because this is what this is, right? And if I have to put like just one word at the end of the day, or two words to be honest, right? At the end of the day, this is engineering, discipline, and the governance, right? It doesn't go away. And that's what the TMMI lens is all about in my mind, right? To for this one, those two fundamental things, it doesn't go away, right? You do those experimentation with the tools, as Himanshu was saying, right? You have to be bold enough to take those decisions, but from the governance perspective, you ought to kind of own that governance and own it sometimes bit more thoroughly, or kind of what I'll say like hands-on way from leadership perspective, at the same time empowering the team to do the experimentation and giving them that ability to fail fast and come back, right? But that discipline, engineering discipline, doesn't go away. That's what my take is. Otherwise, I think Wendy covered it very well.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. In the essence of time, I know we have some questions in the chat, so I'm going to speed up to our final panel question and then we'll get through some of those. So, looking ahead to the future. So, as AI driven quality becomes normalized rather than this sort of novel idea, leadership itself is going to continue to evolve. And so, looking 3 to 5 years out, how do you see the role of engineering leadership evolving as AI driven quality becomes the norm rather than the exception? And so I'm going to switch the order up a little bit since Tejas just kind of shared with us. So I'm going to jump to you, Himanshu, to hear your thoughts on this one.
Perfect. Thanks for throwing your question on me. So I see it two ways, and I will try to be quick here in the interest of time. One is the technology side, another one is the strategic side. So from the technology side, we are seeing the role is actually evolving from the QA side, right? Majority of the code is being written now. Not the majority, but a portion of the code is being written by the by the AI tools. Now, what I need to see that the role is changing, and the strategic shift I see that QA will be more evolving their roles. They will be looking into the lot more technological things. Like they are not going to be limited just to writing the code, or writing the test cases, writing the automated test cases. Their role will be evolving. And now I see this. I see this as an opportunity for the QA from the technological standpoint. You learn more and you earn more, right? Now, second one is a strategic point of view. I think we are still in the exploration phase, where some pointers are already cleared out, some pointers we are waiting, right? Like we were talking about the how to make the balance between the speed and the innovation, right? Those strategic shifts are yet to see. We know that a lot of companies putting a lot of investment into this area, but outcome out of those investments are still yet to be seen, right? Some companies are making themselves 20% faster, some companies are not. I see that from the strategic point of view, from the QA standpoint, I see that QA role is going to be evolving both from the strategic side and from the technology side, where QA has tremendous opportunity. I see that QA role is not going to go away. It's actually going to be more impactful. Now they are going to AI, where they are making sure the AI is correctly implemented, and the QA, since they are already kind of having a skill set of making sure how to judge the quality of the product. Now they will be making sure how the AI implementation quality of the AI generated products are going from there. So I think this is what I see. I think we are going to have a fabulous future going forward.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Himanshu. Wendy, would you like to share your thoughts on this one?
Sure. I think Himanshu kind of covered part of my first aspect. I think quality becomes intelligence architects, and that means making the architecture's machine legible, making signals coherent, and giving AI the context that it needs to behave reliably, which I think he covered that quite a bit. Second, I would say governance and provenance become part of the core leadership job. So we have to own the guardrails. We need to know what model produced an artifact, under what constraints, understand the level of confidence, and we need explainability and risk frameworks that treat the behavior of the AI with the same seriousness that we would have with safety critical systems. And that's a new kind of accountability. And then I would also say that quality becomes more predictive instead of reactive. So like at prior companies, when the leaders would say, "Are we green?" We're not going to say that anymore. We're going to say, "What is the system telling us about where we're headed?" And I don't quite know what that's going to look like in an actual reality, but that's what it's going to. That's where we're going to be leading. That's the signals that we are going to give our leadership is, how is the system telling us that we're going to be, rather than where are we right now? So it's kind of changing from managing tasks to orchestrating the intelligence.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Tejas, would you like to bring us home on this question?
Absolutely. I'll just take what Wendy said. Taking a task to kind of managing or orchestrating intelligence. And I'll give you very concrete example, because we started as a startup just like a year ago, and we have gone fast, and we have kind of put our platform already there. I can tell you this, that like in a way we got the luxury where we didn't had any of the baggage, and we could be like at least couple of years, 1 or 2 years ahead than a lot of other legacy system would be. This is what happened to us, right? We all started as a full stack engineers, and we said that like, okay, there might be some people having expertise into ML, some people having expertise in AI, some people having expertise in database or something like that, DB or data perspective. But when we build this entire team, right, till we came to a point where we had the team of say 20 engineers, right, and going full steam, we are able to scale. And then came a point to Wendy's kind of earlier kind of a comment. Right now we are desperately looking, to be honest, I'm not putting a plug here, but we are desperately looking for a AI system and automation leader. Why? Because lot of the other tasks that we were able to cross train our engineers on, and they were able to use a lot of AI system or have some dedicated QA task executed, right, learn and execute themselves as well. In fact, one of the person who supposed to be a QA scaled up as a full stack engineer. But now we need someone to have that intelligence system which works end to end. So three, I don't know, 5 years is like a hundreds of years in the earlier terms. But if I have to just look at 2 or 3 years, I clearly see, right, leadership will increasingly focus on building these organizations, right, which will be able to safely operate these autonomous systems at scale. And there will be a people, to Himanshu's point, we will need very sharp people with a system level understanding who can orchestrate this intelligence to make sure that you have the what we call the truly AI driven quality or QA. Ultimately, still the ownership will rely on those individuals in a different way. A lot of new models are coming and we all will keep experimenting, but that would be my take, right? Maybe 2 or 3 years from now, let's see what happens beyond that. Back to you, Andy. Sorry, Amanda.
Thank you. Yeah, no worries. So we've covered today in the panel definition, application, accountability, maturity, and now we've looked into the future. So I'd love to bring the audience perspectives in. And I did see we had a couple questions out there. So we have about 2-3 minutes left. So maybe we'll do a little rapid fire here. So let's see what we got. The first one comes in from Krishna. And it says, what are the top challenges to transform reactive approach to preventative or predictive approach of quality engineering and how to overcome this? So does anybody want to take this first one? Great question.
Okay, I can go first, and definitely I'm sure Wendy or Himanshu can add that. One of the biggest challenge from, as I said in one of my response, right, from deterministic or testing the system, which is that to kind of predicting the system health. One of the biggest challenge that we are seeing in reality today is how do you really test the agents and the system which are based on, like literally it's a probabilistic system. It is learning. It's not that something which is a definitive outcome. And here is where, like for example, the approach is like a judge LLM, right, which is kind of which is a probabilistic QA for your agentic system, right? How you set that up, and lot of this is still evolving, cutting edge. Good startups are putting a lot of effort in this one, but that is the hard road to be taken, right? There is no shortcut on this one, but that's one of the challenge that we are seeing, right, when it comes to predictive or AI system testing. Over to you, Himanshu or Wendy.
Yeah, Wendy, would you like to jump in? Or if not, we have another question as well. Thoughts, Wendy?
I'm just thinking that I think one of the challenges is to make all the systems and the code observable so that we can get to the point of being predictive. So, you know, I think most of the existing architectures out there that were prior to the AI age, they weren't written with observability as the main focus. And I think we have to go towards that level in the future. But I think that's a big challenge right now for existing systems, is getting them observable enough to be predictive.
So we have one more, looks like we're almost at time. So another question here is, would it be smarter to have multiple different AI entities for different purposes, like each AI entity would be specialized in a certain task? Or does it make more sense to have one AI for all needs? So does anyone want to jump in?
I can take that question. So we have run through in this scenario multiple times. And based on my experience, what I see that it's gonna be like, as of now, we are running a lot of experiments. We have to see which one seems more optimal based on the cost benefit analysis. In certain cases, like corporations, they are having a separate different LLM models designed for the QAs, which is kind of a trained on a lot of data like bug data or a lot of launch blockers or test cases data. And we are doing a lot of experiments. Some cases and it seems very helpful having a smaller models, but at the same time we have to keep in mind that we cannot just make them very small, right? And otherwise it's not going to be very cost effective. So ultimately you have to run some experiments and see what makes sense to you. But at the same time, you have to make sure that it's easily maintainable for you as well. Because you cannot just have small models for everything, and who's going to maintain them? It's going to be increasing the cost. So kind of finding a right balance would be the answer for me.
Thank you so much, Himanshu. So great panel today, everyone. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Great questions. I think we're right about at time here. So what I would say is, as we're closing, any further questions or thoughts, there's a really awesome tab in the Zoho platform called Discussions. So I would say if you want to continue the discussion, definitely post out there, and then we can go ahead in and answer back through that tab. But thank you everyone for joining us again. Great insights. This has been my pleasure, and hope to stay connected with everyone. Thank you so much.